I thank you, Mr. Moderator, for having given me the floor. I'm very pleased to be here and to see some familiar faces, since I feel a bit like a veteran of WSIS as I've been part of the process since the first meetings. 10 years ago, I had the honor to speak at the United Nations in closing the WSIS at Tunis. And at that time, I made a promise. Civil society, and especially educators and researchers that I represent here, will take significant part in the WSIS process. They will follow it, they will participate in it, and require accountability from governments and the private sector regarding youth and their education. Promise kept. And I'm thrilled to once again to be here among you to give a quick stock taking and especially to give some proposals on this future that we are trying to put together. I'm speaking on behalf of the IAMCR, the International Association for Media and Communications Research, where I head the Media Education Research Department. But especially here, I wish to be the advocate for the millions of silent people who work each day for education in the world. Teachers, trainers, schools, and researchers. And they do this for the youth, half of which are young girls. And 1 in 3 internet users is under the age of 18, one out of every 3. These are the citizens of tomorrow, netizens, as we say, whose creativity and critical spirit must be supported. And my message is that we must stop putting off till tomorrow what is already here now. Saying that youth is for tomorrow, that's not true. It's here today. And this statement is too easily applied to youth and women to put off the implementation of policies that concern them and policies that they need. I particularly followed Action 9, the priority action on media and education, and Action 8, cultural diversity, which have been moving forward in a very similar manner. And the activities in education for media and information are without a doubt one of the greatest successes of the last 10 years. Here I'm trying to bring some positive elements rather than more negative elements. I'm saying that there is progress in ICT and education in the world. We have created GAPMIL, the Global Alliance for Partnerships in Media and Information Literacy, which has been relatively effective and has been similar to GAMAG, the Global Alliance for Media and Gender. So here, there's a convergence between youth education and women with actions, values, and similar goals. And we successfully adopted the means of implementation of the WSIS, meaning global action, that was immediately distributed to regional actions and regional chapters, which was adapted to the needs on the ground. We made a Paris Declaration on MIE in the digital age, where we take into account that ICTs cannot evolve without human rights and a mastering of the culture of information, all these different layers of ICTs which have complicated our access to the world, the values of sharing and solidarity. These must be put into place along with the founders of the Internet. These are what we wish to conserve. We have created regional observatories. We have found national and international partners, for example, in the Translit and Imidus networks. We have helped to jumpstart public policies, for example, in France, my country, where media and information education is part of the school program with ICT, with an ICT department and a national operator. But this change has started, and in many areas we see experiments that are existing now. Then the true problem right now is the fact to have this put into place so that more people can enjoy this. There can be more equality, but every country in the North and the South have issues. So when we're talking about development, All countries are concerned, and they all have different issues, such as gender, age, or disability. This governance from below has started, but these perspective changes are enormous. And this new generation, the internet, is seeing these challenges in a different way. The beginning of the Internet of Things, the education and culture, this is changing their knowledge. The arrival of pure players, which have nothing to do with education but are intervening in the commercialization of education, they are also affecting this. There are often monopolies on training. There's also new distance learning. For example, MOOCs, these massive online open courses where an enormous amount of data and private life is collected. Learning analytics on learning. These changes have led to pre-digital cultural institutions being a bit more fragile. Universities, libraries, medias, museums, and so on. But these changes bring both promises, and no one wants to go back on education when there is so much potential in the internet for the promotion and democratization of knowledge. But this requires an increased vigilance from us. So in a perspective of sustainable development, here we wish to recall the essential role for us of the WSIS process, notably in its extension to the Internet Governance Forum. Here we want this process to continue in a multi-partner and multilateral dimension so that the benefits of ICTs can reach everyone while the industrial sector is working to extend the internet to another billion people in the next few years. Now, we really want a governance of global education to master the cultures of information and move towards societies of balanced knowledge that brings value. For an internet for citizens, for netizens, rather than an internet for things. What does this require? There are many things on education in school and beyond school. 4 proposals for school. 1, there should be educated use and access to ICTs, and this includes the internet. It is key, along with low-cost, open and interoperable technology. There is no fracture if we accept to bring low-tech and high-tech together at the same time. What's important is that we must be able to participate in all forms possible. And in education, this is possible. For example, bring your own device. Bring your own technology, no matter what it is, including paper. We need to make ICT education the common basis for learning and skills in the 21st century so that youth can participate and create beginning in primary school. Read, write, and count. This is not enough. We must be able to navigate. We must be able to find our education. We must be able to support the creation of a research and teaching area on ICTs, including the internet, so as to help decision-making from public policymakers, which requires the creation of indicators and global follow-up for evolution. There is already in place with GigaNet, but this must be much more widespread in every country. And finally, we must facilitate the transference of human rights in internet governance, including new dimensions such as learning analytics, which must respect the better interests of children and netizens. And beyond school, and apparently I have to go faster, other proposals, such as developing co-design with school partners, whether they be public, private, or associative. We always forget about this in private-public. For example, civil society. And here, we must have a maximum benefit locally and respond to needs on the ground with renewed public action that is inclusive and close to social innovation with science, crowdsourcing, and citizen humanities and sciences. Next, we must promote employment, which has been so forgotten in our discussions, with particular focus on the transition from school to employment. Right now, this is a true issue. There are too many unemployed, too many dropouts. And this does not respond to the ever-increasing need for jobs. There are so many ICT jobs that have not been filled. There's a true mismatch between what is being done at school and in universities, the training done, and the future jobs. So here, at all cost, the public assistance must move in this way. We must widen the corporate social responsibility. Yes, we've spoken of this several times, because self-regulation is not enough to ensure quality educational content, and corporations must greatly contribute to education during the 12 years of mandatory schooling, because they're the first beneficiaries of a population that's trained in new types of literacy, those necessary for digital jobs and professions. Examples exist that work. For example, Vivendi, which focuses on youth education, cultural diversity, and ICT jobs. But we must increase this movement. We must incorporate women and youth, we've already said this. And finally, we must build specific indicators that take into account the needs of youth and women so as they can be brought into public policies. So these indicators must be intersectoral in nature. They must be effective for decision making. So in the future, we will still be here, the educators and the researchers. And here I call for general mobilization, the next billion of those to be connected and all those who are connected now. Long live global education.